What's up guys, back with another Honkai Star Rail video. In this video, we're going to rank the top 10 DPSs and have a few honorable mentions. Now, before you guys absolutely jump me, I love to hear your guys' opinions. If you don't agree with something on the tier list, let me know it. I would love, I wouldn't say arguing, but arguing a good point. So let's say if you're comparing Topaz and let's say Jingliu, and you're like, oh, Jingliu does more damage, but he can get CC'd. Lightning Lord can be inconsistent sometimes. Topaz and Numby. Topaz can get Numby to attack more often. She boosts follow attacks. Yada yada, you go at it. And I can be like, alright, I can see the vision now. I'll put Jingliu above Topaz. Topaz above Jingliu. I'm fine with that. But don't be like ripping each other's throats out being like, oh, this guy's an idiot because I can't believe he thinks Ratio is better than Jingliu. Oh my gosh, he's a terrible human being. Like, come on. I'm all for the argument of who's better than who, but let's keep the argument about the characters, not about other people, right? But regardless of that, let's jump into the video. Now, I've said this many times that I think Acheron deserves a tier of her own. However, for this, I think I'm comfortable with putting Dan Heng with her, just for this, because I think until Acheron gets that Nihility character that does another role, I think it might be limiting her a bit too much. But with Dan Heng, he has his perfect friend in Sparkle, so you would just have to worry about a sustain and then a debuffer, buffer, whatever you want, right, at this point, because Sparkle is allowing you to spam skills as much as you want, and Dan Heng's one weakness was skill point management. Now, when Acheron gets that sustain or support Nihility character, it's going to look like this. In fact, it might look like this depending on how cracked that said support is. If the new Nihility character is like a Bronyan Nihility, and then you're able to run your sustain and like another debuffer, Acheron is going to absolutely destroy. Plus, it's going to be good if you have E2 because then you have a new option, and if you're running E0, then that means that you can run a Nihility and this character, and then finally run like a normal team that's not just Acheron, Nihility, and the support. Or sorry, a sustain. You can run support too if you do enough damage, but most people will just be safe and run a sustain. But until then, they're close. I'm okay with this, but I do think Acheron is slightly higher. But for the sake of this, I think her and Dan Heng together are just fine. Then comes the Queen. Now, I love Jingliu. I do. When Dan Heng came out, I was saying Jingliu was definitely better. Dan Heng had skill points issues. Jingliu did not. Jingliu was easier to transform as well. She did a bunch of damage. I think Dan Heng technically did slightly more, but the payoff for using 3 skill points was way more rough than just having her transform. Plus, you can build her a lot easier than Dan Heng. Dan Heng needed a lot of crit damage. Jingliu, I built her like 20 crit rate, like 258 crit damage because she gave herself crit rate. I didn't have to worry about that, right? But as of right now, Jingliu doesn't have that character that really makes her shine anymore. Pela is still really good, but until she gets a character like Dan Heng, Sparkle, right? Sparkle takes skill points, so Dan Heng doesn't have to worry about that. Oh, sorry, not takes, gives. Jingliu needs that, right? Jingliu either needs a character that keeps her transforms, or buffs her when she transforms, or maybe helps her transform faster. Like, if you could transform frame 1 with 1 skill every single time, instantly just boom. Alright, you're good to go. But until we get something like that, or maybe just a buff to ice characters, I think Jingliu is definitely a step down from Dan Heng at the moment. Still very cracked DPS though. Then we have 4 through 8. And this is where people are going to start being like, okay, this ADB guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I think Dr. Ratio is clear just 4. He's actually so nasty. The fact that he's free is so insane. Follow-ups do a bunch of damage. Ultimate does a bunch of damage. Follow-up attacks are very consistently landed. You just need a couple debuffs and you're good to go. The fact that other characters can attack with a basic skill ultimate and then he'll follow up because of his ult, very, very strong character. He's also imaginary, so if you had an issue of not having an imaginary character, like I think they gave Yukong for free, but if you're a free-to-play character, if you're a free-to-play player, you might not have an imaginary character, and Dan Heng is premium, so you probably won't have him, or at least most people won't have him. Dr. Ratio is free, so it's good to go. I love him. I'm also biased because my Dr. Ratio absolutely cooks. But regardless of that, number 5. Now, I might be a bit biased with this. I think it's clearly Kafka. Kafka is just so insanely good with Dot. Black Swan definitely boosted her up even more, but Black Swan, she's no Kafka, right? Black Swan might be extremely good in Dot, but Kafka is the absolute queen. Love her to death. My Kafka absolutely cooks. Love them together. I think she is number 5. Now for 6, this is a character I don't have too much usage on, but I've seen him absolutely cook, and the times I've used him, he has not disappointed me. Blade also has the added bonus of being able to heal himself. So not only is he hitting hard, he is an absolute tank. He's not going to be dying anytime soon. You can worry about your healer healing other characters when Blade is around. Normally, the DPS is like the end-all be-all. If they die, you're losing the run kind of thing, because unless your support super cracked and does damage or running 2 DPSs, once your DPS goes, it's GG. The enemy has to be basically dead at that point for you to win. Blade, he's got it, bro. He can heal himself. He does a lot of damage. He has a follow-up attack that heals him. He has an ultimate. He has the enhanced basic. Very strong character. Very sad I did not get him when he came out, but might have to pick him up on his 3rd year. Right? Obviously, unless they drop a Blade that's just better, which would be rather unfortunate. But I mean, hey, the design of the kit is really good. Really good, right? Now, we are on 8. So, or sorry, 7. I can count, I promise. 7 is a bit iffy, right? I think it's Black Swan. Right, and the reason for this is because Arcana is so broken on its own. If you stack enough stacks, you are going to be doing a disgusting amount of damage. She also lowers defense, but she's technically not a strong DPS. She's not going to be dishing out a ton of damage on her own. It's really just the Arcana stacks once they proc. So it's a bit iffy, but I feel pretty confident putting her at number 7. And that's all it really is to it, right? It's just Arcana's OP. If her Arcana wasn't nearly as good, she definitely would just be in like honorable mention. Oh, I grabbed Blade. But she'd definitely be an honorable mention, but because Arcana is so broken and she also has defense lowering and her ultimate keeps the Arcana stacks, I think she deserves 7. Then at 8 will be the King Yuan. With Sparkle, he's good. Doesn't have to worry about skill points. Topaz also helps him out if you run around Topaz. He just has a lot more options than he did on release, which on release, I will say I did some for him. I had him in his light cone. He had issues. He was like bottom of the list. QQ was better than him. All these characters are better. But since then, he's gotten nothing but more and more support. He's got a new relic set that's really good for him. He got, a follow-up attack support in Topaz. He has a good character in Sparkle. He just got nothing but buffs, so I think it's perfectly fine to put him at 8, right? Now, 9 and 10. 9 and 10. This is going to be a bit iffy. These characters are definitely characters I haven't played around with as much as I want to. But I think I'm perfectly okay with putting Topaz at 9. She can absolutely cook, and she adds the follow-up attack, boost with ratio, so you run both of these together. So not only is she helping another character, kind of like how Black Swan is, she's also dishing out a bunch of damage herself. I've seen a bunch of people just run dual DPS, Topaz, and ratio, and absolutely cook the enemy. So I'm going to put her at 9. I think you could argue her and Jingliu switching, but I think I'll have Jingliu up more just because Lightning Lord is going to be doing way more damage. But you can cook. You can cook with Topaz, right? Then at 10, I want to put Clara. Thank you. I know people are going to be like, oh, well, Zele is so good. I understand that, right? But Zele, the second you're up against one enemy, can't get Resurgence, which is going to hurt her, right? Clara gets hit, counter. Boom, boom, boom. She's pretty tanky because you build her a little more beefy than you would a normal DPS. So that's another added bonus. She can do absolutely insane amount of damage, but it is a bit RNG, which is unfortunate. But she has the ultimate that lowers her damage taken, and if an enemy hits an ally, she still counters, so she has that going for her. I think you could argue Zele being at 10 and Clara being at 10, but for me, I'm going to put Clara at 10 and Zele an honorable mention. Honestly, there is another character that I'm going to put an honorable mention. Where is she? I'm blonde. Hang on. Where am I? Oh, she's right here. I'm like, where the heck is QQ? I think QQ and Argenti are honorable mentions. Argenti definitely is going to cook something like Pure Fiction, but Pure Fiction isn't something you can rely on all the time. most of these characters cook in most of the other modes. I know you aren't going to be running Danheng in Pure Fiction, but Danheng can cook in boss fights, normal story, MOC, you know, Golden Gears. Argenti definitely needs to have multiple characters, which is holding him back a bit. This is just general DPS tier list, brother. This is not just only MOC, only Pure Fiction. But Argenti, honorable mention, you know, depending on the fight, he could definitely shoot up to like around here. But there's just too many variables. Same with QQ, you need good RNG. He's still really good, but I'm sure we've all seen the Mr. Pokey clip of him spamming the tiles and just not getting her enhanced attack at all. And that is just RNG you gotta consider. Obviously, with Sparkle, she's going to be a bit better. I think if I had to rank these guys, I think at Argenti's best, he's up here. I think at Zele's best, she's at least up here. And if QQ's best, she's probably maybe around here as well, right? But there's too many variables, right? Only one enemy. Zele not having Resurgence is going to suck. Plus, she is a rather old character at this point. There's just a lot of characters who do a lot more. Argenti not having a ton of characters and a physical weakness is going to hurt him. And then QQ RNG goes crazy. I know people are going to be like, oh, well, Clara's here with RNG. It's like, oh, well, she has a mechanic to where, well, I guess if you ult, you're good with her, right? But getting hit is a lot easier than timing your RNG, plus you're losing skill points, and if there's any reality where you're running QQ without Sparkle, skill points are going to be a little rough to manage. But other than that, this is pretty much going to be the tier list. Quick rundown again. Akron, number 1, absolutely disgusting. Only reason she's not in a tier round is because she doesn't have her best friend yet. Danheng, number 2, thanks to Sparkle. Jingliu at 3, waiting for a good support just for her. Until then, she's slightly behind Danheng. 4 through 8, ratio, really good damage, consistent follow-ups. Kafka, mixed dot OP, is OP with dot. Blade, lots of damage, very good for survival. Black Swan, doesn't do too much, but Arcana goes absolutely disgusting crazy. Jingliu, got a lot of buffs. New relic set helps him a lot. Lightning Lord slams down, kills everything. Topaz, very, very strong if you build her right. Helps ratio, which is a DPS higher on the list. Numby can also go insanely crazy. She does good damage. Clara, bit RNG, but the counters are still absolutely disgusting as they were day 1. And then the honorable mentions, RNG Machine, get Resurgence, you're good to go. And then Pure Fiction King needs physical weakness and lots of enemies, otherwise he's cooking. Other than that, that'll be it for the video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I can feel my voice getting absolutely destroyed because I recorded this 4 different times because I didn't like how I said certain words. Is what it is. Other than that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next Honkai Star video.